Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is part two of nervous systems. Today, we're going to be talking about action potentials. In this topic on action potentials, we will do this in 6 parts. We will have the normal intro, which is what you're in right now. It's just this slide. And then we'll have the summary at the end with the summary, the practice question, and what's coming next. And in between, we will have our 4 major sections. We're going to start today talking about neurons, the cells that are involved in synaptic transmission in the nervous system. Neurons are the cells that experience action potentials, so we have to talk about their structure, their morphology, their components before we can get into how action potentials actually work. Then we'll talk about the concept of membrane potential, what that means, how membrane potential is generated. So we're going to talk about how to generate a membrane potential, and your job will be to sequence and hypothesize and diagnose about that process. And then we will look at changes to membrane potential. So we'll look at how it goes up and how it goes down. So you need to compare and contrast those two types of changes and do some hypothesizing with that topic as well. Then in part 3, we'll get into action potentials themselves. This is going to be pretty straightforward. We're just going to go through the process of an action potential, so sequence and HD that process. And then in part 4, which will actually be video part 5, but it's part 4 within the outline, we'll look at the different methods of conducting an action potential through a neuron. There's actually more than one way to get from one end of a neuron to the other as an action potential. We'll look at those 2 different ways. So I want you to be able to compare and contrast those 2 different modes of conduction, sequence those different modes of conduction, and HD. If we change something about them, how is that going to affect those processes? So that's everything for the introduction for action potentials. Next, we're going to look at the structure of neurons.